Film Fanatics. From the silver screen to your earphones. With Alan Azulay and Gal Balaban.
Welcome back to Film Fanatics, where we talk about the movies that have us obsessed, excited, and inspired.
Where we record 30 minutes of an episode without recording it. I'm Alan. So we've been here for about half an hour and we forgot to record. Actually, I forgot to record, so that one's on me. We have a very special guest today. Julie is here with us. Gal, give us Julie's brief.
Julie is also Just Real Reviews, a fellow movie critic on Instagram, and a member of the League of Cinephiles. How are you, Julie?
Hey guys, how's it going? I'm doing good.
This is the third time we met Julie in the last 45 minutes. But okay, let's get on with the episode. Today we're talking about Martin McDonagh. It's our director spotlight of Martin McDonagh, and because we're celebrating the release, even though it's released like a month ago, of the Banshees of Inisherin, which is a big Oscar contender for this year. So let's start with his first movie. It's called In Bruges, and it came out in 2008, and it's pretty much a cult hit at this point. Like a lot of movie fans really have a good appreciation for this movie. So let's start with Gal. When did you first run into In Bruges?
Like 6 years ago, just because I heard good things in our community on Instagram about it. And this, starting with this, then eventually Lobster and Killing of a Sacred Deer led to Colin Farrell being one of my favorites. But this is the role where, first of all, he won a Golden Globe for it, which is fantastic, but he's just so hilarious. But there's this sadness to him too, which I think is great if we're talking about Martin McDonagh's whole career. He started with plays, which I think why he's so good at creating his own style of dialogue that only he can. Like, you never feel like Martin McDonagh's drawing or borrowing from like someone too obviously. And he won an Oscar for a short film, and then he got a screenplay nomination for this movie. And yeah, I just think it's dark and comedic, but there's a sadness to the humor. And Farrell and Gleason are terrific together. Ray Fiennes, we could talk about him because, yeah, it's just, and the violence is just really unhinged, but it plays off the comedy so well.
What about you, Julie? When did you first run into In Bruges?
I saw In Bruges once, and it was pretty recent, like last spring, and I really liked it. And it was just this dark comedy, which is like always something that I like a lot, and it was something just different. Like it was like had its own style, and to be honest, it's kind of the thing. It's like in one location, but it doesn't feel like that. And if you can pull that off, I feel like that's like a really great thing in a movie. Like they're stuck in one place, but it didn't feel that way because it was just like an exciting screenplay, and they really relied on the words a lot too. So I really like that about this.
Yeah, speaking of the one location thing, it's really interesting because it has this interesting dichotomy of like one of the characters really hating the place and the other one really loving it, thinking of it as like a bit of a fairy tale. And there's even a fun, like some funny back and forth later on with Ralph Fiennes about this. And it's actually one of the funniest jokes in the movie. I'm not gonna ruin it. But yeah, like I also just saw this movie recently, and it's quickly becoming one of my favorite like cult dark comedies.
And I think Farrell is more out there with the humor. Gleason's like a little, he's like a little more like deadpan with his humor.
Yeah.
But they're both great. And Ray Fiennes, again, he has that amazing scene where he hangs up the phone and he's pissed off, so he starts like hitting the phone back and forth. And his wife goes, "It's just a fucking inanimate object." And he goes, "You're a fucking inanimate object." And that just makes me laugh so hard. Do you guys think this movie holds up now? What do we say?
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. So let's get to the scores for In Bruges. Why don't we start with Julie?
I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10.
Nice, nice. I think like with you, like it's one of my favorites from Martin, and I will also give it a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I'd go 9 as well. It definitely grew from like an 8 when I first saw it. But yeah, I think even if you like his more recent awards movies better, there's still like a cult classic like nature to it. Martin McDonagh, when he came out at TIFF, when I saw Banshees of Inisherin, he goes like, "Any In Bruges fans out there?" And everyone was clapping. So yeah, and then he went like, "Banshees, a bit of a different movie, but I think you'll still like it." So people definitely know him. Everyone in this community definitely respects him, and I think he's managed to break his seemingly weird style into the mainstream, especially with a movie we'll talk about later.
Yes, do you want to introduce our next movie, Gal?
That's right. Seven Psychopaths is our next movie. It came out in 2012 and it stars Colin Farrell, Sam Rockwell, Woody Harrelson, Christopher Walken, among many others. And it was, again, his second feature film and his second collaboration with the awesome Colin Farrell. And yeah, Julie, tell us about this one because you are a massive fan, so we've heard.
Yeah, so this one was, I saw it after I saw Three Billboards. I guess it was like up on Prime or something when I came across it. And I didn't know it was like the same writer or anything. I just watched it because it looked, all the people I like are in it. So I saw it and it ended up being like, I loved Three Billboards when it came out. And I was like, oh my God, I like this one actually even more. I think it's just fun. It's just like, sick humor. There's an animal involved. I love like dogs, so like that's extra.
Oh, that
Unless I
dog
heard the
is
dog.
great.
I heard the
Is
dog.
great.
So
So
funny. Like
and
such a
Christopher
funny.
Walken's in it, so that's like an
Yeah,
added
that
bonus.
right
Like
there
you
is
don't get in his
like
other movies. So
I also saw this one on Amazon Prime, actually. And it was, I think, right as Three Billboards was coming out, because I'd already seen In Bruges like a year before. And so I was like, okay, this movie's being acclaimed as hell. I might as well watch the other movie that's already like, I can watch at home. And yeah, it's so fun. Again, his style is so great. And Colin Farrell is this time paired with Sam Rockwell. And I think they were wonderful together because Sam Rockwell is kind of crazy in this movie.
He's insane. He's not crazy.
Well, I just loved him. And Christopher Walken has this one scene where he's just walking on the highway and the robber comes and he's like, "Put your hands up." He's like, "No." "Why?" "Because I don't want to." And there's a back and forth and I just adore that scene. That's one of the things I remember most about this movie. And Woody Harrelson also as the villain, I love.
Yeah, I will say one thing that's like, for me, it's like the best part of this movie is how many crazy like twists and turns that this movie takes. Because it starts at something completely different than what it ends up being. And like I feel like every like 20 minutes there's like a twist that like turns the story into its head, and you're kind of in the shoes of Colin Farrell's characters because he's also very confused about what's happening. He's also like going through this whole roller coaster, and it's. I always love movies about Hollywood that have nothing to do with Hollywood.
Yeah, he's much more relatable here because instead of a hitman, he's a screenwriter, and we want to be that.
Exactly, and I love that his name is Martin. That's a nice little like fourth wall break from Martin McDonagh, and maybe he's killed some people. Who knows? But yeah, just like Julie said, this is like one of his maybe like funnest movies. Like it's just a blast to watch.
I think it's the one with the loosest storyline, and that also gives it the least limitations for where it can go.
Yeah, for sure. Do you guys want to give some scores to Seven Psychopaths? Let's start with Julie.
I'm just gonna give it a 9 out of 10 because I can't give it lower than Bruce is my favorite, so I'm gonna stick with the 9.
this one's your favorite?
Yeah, this is my favorite out of all of them over time. It's
Awesome.
the most fun to me. Yeah.
This one is my least favorite, but just because the others are so good, we'll get to that. It's an 8 out
I'm
of 10
going
movie for
right
me.
in the middle with you guys. I'm going with 8.5. It is not my favorite Martin McDonagh movie, but I guess we ranked them all in the end.
At the end.
But like, it is up there. I'll just say that for me. So let's go to our next one. This I think is the movie that got the most Oscar buzz out of all of his movies, besides the
So far.
Banshees. It is a great movie called Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, and it stars the incredible.
Frances McDormand.
Thank you.
And we have Woody Harrelson and Sam Rockwell. All three of them were nominated for Oscars, and Frances and Sam both won. Well-deservingly so. And yeah, let's...
It was France's second Oscar win, right?
yeah. Now
Nice.
2 out of 4 wins.
Wow. Holy shit. So I will say this was the first Martin McDonagh movie that I ever watched. When it came out, I watched it in 2017. And for a while, it was like his favorite my favorite movie of his. But I will say, after rewatching all these movies this week, it did fell off a little bit. It is still fantastic. It is a great movie. It's just this just shows you how good his filmography is. That it's so small, but every movie is amazing. So yeah, I had a really good time watching this movie when it came out. I think I watched it with my cousin during that Oscar season, and it was definitely one of our favorites of that whole season. Frances McDormand is insanely good in this movie.
I saw this back in 2017 in the theater. I loved it right away. It became my favorite of that Oscar season during that time. Now, since that time, things have changed. I like other ones better in that year than I did like when I first watched it. But it's one of those movies that hits you the first time you see it. It's not one of those movies you rewatch all the time and it hits the same. It was like the first time that all those... There were so many quips, like, and Frances McDormand just played herself, and we loved it. We gave her another Oscar for it, basically, and because it was that funny, you know what I mean? It was like the darkest version of the comedy, and it really made you it made the audience kind of think a lot, and I feel like he treated us like an intelligent audience, and there's no really right answers. At the end of the day, is like a theme that goes on. Is like you never know what's going to happen, you know? So I really liked a lot of his themes in the movie. That was so high on at the time, and I think it would have been my pick if I picked who would win the Oscar that year over Shape of Water. It would have been Three Billboards for me, definitely.
I'm actually with you there. I think it was also considered the front runner to win before they announced that The Shape of Water had won.
I remember that.
And yeah, I saw this in theaters with my friend. I was like, okay, I'm hearing all this amazing stuff about it. We should go. We actually did a double feature that day. We went to this and then The Disaster Artist with James Franco.
That was a good Oscar season.
Yeah. That was an amazing day for movies. This one, I at least think is his best movie. And I was blown away the first time watching it. Like, I was really enjoying it and laughing the first 20 minutes. There's a part in the the 30 or 40 minute mark where something really tragic happens. Yeah. And I was like, holy shit, I don't know where this is going. And I'm so in for it because everything he wanted me to feel thematically with the characters, with the way he was incorporating his style into a less, I guess, like British setting. I was just in for the ride, and I thought it was a brilliantly made movie. And it was one of those that I think, even like now, with the crowd of audiences, if you mention this is the guy who directed Three Billboards, like everyone's seen that movie and loved it, as far as I know.
Yeah.
And Frances McDormand, I honestly think it's one of the best like Oscar-winning performances of the last 10 years at least, because she also has some incredible moments of acting. It's my favorite of her performances, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think that especially after doing I did like a Martin McDonagh marathon in the last week, and I feel like something that did show is like that Three Billboards. I think it's I think you both touched on this, that it's the most like thematic movie of his four movies. Like it touches on more like social things and more like messages, but not in a way that's like trying to like lecture you or anything. It's like very intertwined with the story. Like it doesn't hurt the story at all. Because some movies, when they try to do that, they become a little bit too much message driven and it kind of ruins the whole thing. Even if I agree with the messages, which is most likely the case, um, it's still like it's message over movie, and that never happens here, even though it has such great messages behind it.
But it was still like one of the funniest movies of that
Exactly.
year.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Like it doesn't. He's not lecturing you at all. It just feels like you're watching a great movie that leaves you with a lot to think about.
I think out of all of his movies, Three Billboards is his best screenplay. He has like just a lot of there's a lot of like line gold. I watch things with subtitles all the time and I'll like stop and be like, hold on, that's a good quote. I feel like it's a really quotable movie. And my favorite monologue she does is when she's talking to the priest in the living room in front of her son. And it's just like, oh my God,
So
you got
good.
him. Like that was so good. I remember being in the theater and everyone just like losing their breath, during that part. She just gets you. She's like that one, like if, oh my God, if you were in the room with her, would you be like so afraid to say hi to this woman? Because she just like, like her mouth just gets you, you know what I mean? So I just love that about her. And this role really gave her that chance to.
And Lucas Hedges was her son, and he had just been nominated for an Oscar for Manchester by the Sea, and he was in Lady Bird. So he was having, well, I don't know if he's been in anything in the last year, but he was having an incredible start to his career.
I feel like again, this one is great. I just had more fun, I guess, with some of the other ones that we talked about, and let's get to some of the. Let's get to like our ratings for this movie. I guess I'll start this time. Again, I love every movie he makes, but this one is on the lower end for me. I'll give it an 8 out of 10.
I'm actually go with 9.5.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, I'm with you with the 9.5.
Nice.
This one. It is. I think it's his best movie, and it's not my favorite. Those are two different things to me. So this is
that's exactly what I mean. It's probably his best movie, but it's not my favorite. Exactly.
Are you guys ready to talk about something new?
Why don't I introduce it?
Go right ahead.
All right. Martin McDonagh has directed one of the most awards-buzzy movies of the year, The Banshees of Inisherin, and it re-teams Colin Farrell with Brendan Gleeson. They're back all together. And in this movie, Parik meets his friend Colm at the bar, and suddenly Colm tells him that he doesn't want to be friends anymore. And from there, crazy shit happens.
This movie caught me kind of off guard because it's such a simple story about like such simple things, I guess, but it impacts you in a way like we were just talking about in Seven Psychopaths, how like crazy things like keep happening, and you would think in a small tiny town in like the, I don't know, what is it, the 1800s or like, no, the 1900s, right?
It was like during the Irish Civil War.
Okay, I don't know when that was.
Yeah, me neither. I thought maybe you would know.
So like 1900s.
It's like early 1900s, right?
Just say that.
Yeah, so like you would think that nothing that crazy was happening there at that time, but like some insane things happens with these two friends and like their neighbors and their whole community. And I saw an interview that Martin McDonagh gave like last month, and he was talking about like the fact that like this was like a way more like action-packed movie when he first wrote it like years ago.
It's like my character was a bit, to be honest, cooler in the original script.
Yeah, like he rewrote the whole thing. Like the only thing that remained was like this dynamic of the friendship and the fact that they were ending their friendship basically. And yeah, like this movie is so fucked up, but so fun at the same time. And again, I think with his screenplays, they're usually the highlight, and it's the same here. This is a great screenplay.
Julie, who was your favorite performance in this one? Did you see it in theaters, by the way?
In theaters, I saw it again yesterday. I watched it with my boyfriend. He hated it, but
Really?
I really like it in a lot of ways. It's one of those movies I admire more than I love, but I really liked it. It really made me laugh. It's entertaining, and the most interesting quality to his writing is that you don't know where the story is going, and it can be this simple story, and you still are kind of just following it. You're not guessing. You're just, you're taking in all the words, to be honest, because there's a lot of them, and it's hard with the accents a little bit. And I watched it with subtitles last night. I got a lot more out of it. So, I mean, it's like one of those really quippy, like fast plays. It feels a little more play-like than his other movies. But at the same time, I really appreciate that about it. It's a small town. Everybody knows each other's business. And how do you find really meaningful friendship in a small place like that? So I like a lot of the themes it brought up about like time and, just friendship. And we do have seasons of our life when we change our friends. And how many times, like, because we were friends doesn't mean that we need to be anymore. But like, how do we deal with that? And is it the hardest breakup we have sometimes? Yes, like breaking up with your friend means a lot more in a lot of ways for most people, different times of their life. So it brought up a lot. I really liked it. You could tell it was like a COVID screenplay. Like he wrote this during when he was isolated or something. So I liked that about it too.
You couldn't see his friends.
I think Colin has like a similar sadness in this performance that he did to In Bruges, especially because now that Brendan Gleeson's like, I don't want to be friends anymore. He's like really lonely, and he's kind of taking that out, even though he thinks he's like way better than everyone else on the planet, because everyone else is kind of an asshole, or at least a couple of the characters. Because there's one big character who like he's like he casually just beats his son, and you can see like also how like humorously sad the son character is, who also Barry Keoghan
plays it beautifully.
Wonderful job. Always rooting for him also. And Carrie Condon was also wonderful as his sister, and she fits in perfectly to this world of like that emotion, but also just the crazy humor that she's given, even though she's the voice of reason in the movie.
She's so funny.
Yeah. And now I'm watching Better Call Saul, which she's in, and she has an American accent in it, so it's like weird to adjust that. And fun fact, she was Iron Man's AI in the last couple Avengers movies, in Avengers 2, 3, and 4. She was Friday.
Yeah, I don't recognize her from, and this is the first thing I think I know her from. I don't recognize her from anything. But I really just like how her character is just like always angry at everyone around her, and she's like the only one who really knows things. She's
People are saying she might win the Oscar.
I think there's a really good chance she wins the Oscar for this role. And
do we want to talk a bit about awards chances?
Let's get into that. I just want to say that something that it's really nice how you were talking. Julie was talking about like the exploration of the friend breakup, and I think it's really interesting to get like both sides of that. It's really rare that a movie would talk about something like that, especially in like such a well-written way. Like in the beginning, you're kind of taken aback, and you kind of hate. It's Colm, his name, right?
Yeah.
I hate old names. But so you're like, wow, Colm is an asshole. But when it starts going, he starts talking about his struggles, like with being remembered and all that, and like how, and sometimes you feel that about some friendships where you're like, maybe like in order for both of us to grow, we have to go our separate ways, like just like in relationships. And like, yeah, I just love that exploration. It made me think about a bunch of stuff.
I saw the actors on actors that Colin Farrell had with Jamie Lee Curtis, and he said, I found myself at times relating to Brendan Gleeson's character.
Yeah, so okay, let's talk about Oscar chances. I think we pretty much nailed the biggest Oscar chance this movie has, right? Is it her for Best Supporting?
For the win or for...
Yeah. For the win. If we're going
for the win, I think its best chance is screenplay. right
screenplay.
now. I think there's a lot of passion definitely behind both of the supporting roles, because they're pretty much getting in everywhere together. It's not just one, it's mostly both of them together doing it. So I think it's like they have a way better chance than a lot of other people to get into this category. I think Carrie's definitely getting nominated. Not so sure if she wins, because to be honest, the supporting category is kind of nuts right now. I feel like she's the most solid nomination
I think
out of
she's the
all.
only one that's for sure getting nominated right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Collins is definitely
Right.
getting nominated. He's in the talk for the win. Possibly, I think that category is still up in the air. At least, it's between three of people that are going to get Best Actor, and he's one of them. And I do think Martin's going to get Best Director for the first time. And I think because he's in the Best Director, he's most likely to get that writing win, especially singular writers win the most. So if there's two people writing a movie, they don't win as often as when there's one name on the ballot. So I think he has the better chance of
Yeah,
winning.
I think I think you're right. I think he might pull a Tarantino and like be one of those like writer directors that hasn't been recognized yet, and it's time that he is, and they're gonna do it through the screenplay because it is such
Well,
a
he
good.
has won an Oscar.
He
but
has?
He won for
Oh, he won
best
for
live
screen-
action
oh,
short,
No, okay, it's not it's not the same thing.
I guess. Well, he was nominated for screenplay for In Bruges and Three Billboards, and won for live action short for Six Shooter. And I think he has an excellent chance at a win for screenplay. But the main thing in his way is Everything Everywhere All at Once, which I also think has a lot of passion. I think because it's such a beloved movie, even though it has two screenwriters, it could give Martin McDonagh a run for his money. I don't know if he's winning Best Director, but I think he'll get nominated. And then I think Farrell, Brendan Gleeson, Barry Keoghan, and Kerry Condon are probably all getting nominated.
If Colin Farrell won, honestly,
I honestly,
He's
right now,
so
I'm saying
good.
that he's gonna.
He's
Right now,
so
I'm saying that
good.
he's gonna win.
He's
and
so
the
good.
reason is, I think the other two rivals that you mentioned are Austin Butler for Elvis and Brendan Fraser for The Whale. And I think for a while people are saying it's gonna be one of them, but I think I don't know if like Butler has that passion behind him, and B, I've heard a bit of controversy around The Whale with like him wearing a fat suit and some people thinking it was fat shaming, and I'm afraid that that's kind of gonna be detrimental to the movie. And plus, I think that's gonna be the movie's only nomination, as opposed to Banshees of Inisherin, which is getting in for 4 performances, probably writing, picture, and director, maybe also original score.
yeah.
For Carter Burwell, who was also nominated for 3 Billboards and Carol.
Oscars love giving awards not for the actual performance, but for like the body of work. And Colin Farrell has such a quality background. Like he's always good. Like he was just a penguin like a year ago, and he completely changed for that role. Physically, he changed totally the way he spoke for that role, and like he does that on a dime, and like probably yearly. So that's why I think he's the front runner right now. I agree with what you said, Gal, that like The Whale and Brendan Fraser started off the Oscars, like the Oscar race, like a few months ago, as basically the front runner. But I think since then, all the criticism and the other performances that came out after, I think really gave him a run for his money. And I think it's Colin's year. I think it's Colin's year for sure.
Do you think Farrell has a really good chance of winning?
I think it's pretty split right now between the three of them for a couple different reasons. I think Colin could definitely get the boost of having a really great year last year. The Penguin, After Yang, 13 Lives, Banshees. He did this transformative thing, earlier in the year, and he blew it out of the park. We wanted more of him. He's going to have his show coming up. I think he's having a really good moment. And he used to not get such great roles. And he used to be like, when I was growing up, we would like laugh about him. He was like that guy. Like he wasn't like a prestigious actor. And I feel like Martin kind of helped him do that. Guy Ritchie kind of helped him like become like this, who he is right now. Like he's like in the moment. But you know, at the same time, I'm a '90s kid. I grew up with Brendan Fraser, and I am totally on board with him winning, and that's who I would vote for if I was in the Academy. And another thing we have to think about too is like people are still going to see The Whale, even though it's not playing a lot of places. It's per screening. If you look at
it's
seats,
really high.
The seats, it has number one. It's been number one since it's been released limitedly. It's been number one, getting people in there, and everyone in the theater. When I saw it, there was like so many people talking about it after, and I don't really get that experience a lot where I'm around. I'm in the Philly area, but it's not like full theaters. But like I was in a full theater for The Whale, and everybody when they were out, they were like, "Oh my god, it was so good." So I feel like it made people feel a lot, and I feel like it is rising, and I don't think it's falling. I feel like other movies from that time period at TIFF are falling, not that one. And also, I think if Hung Chau gets in, I think his chances get bigger. I think that is the difference between him winning or losing, in my opinion, because then people will be more likely to see the movie. And I think it is a movie we all want to see. It's like wanting to see, there's a car crash and wanting to see what happened. It's like you want to see this movie, and you want the Renaissance, so we say, is here too. So I think Colin Farrell and Brendan have this similar quality going on right now. People are excited for them.
Yeah,
but I think Butler is like a little older in the year. But for me, a lot of people love him. So I mean, if I could speak from like just social media responses, I would say it would be Austin Butler.
Yeah, but like,
this is so not good.
The awards are loving it. Like it's gonna get nominated.
I don't understand when the awards do that. Like, there's so many good movies out right now. Like that movie is like, it's fine, but like compared to everything that's out right now, it is not even close.
It's overperforming. It's overperforming, but I don't hate anything. People like what you like. Totally no hate.
For sure.
Like what you like. If you're happy with it, that's great. Like I just wasn't for me.
I'm glad people enjoyed Elvis. I didn't like it that much, but the fact that it's more likely to get nominated for Best Picture over like The Woman King is just sad. Because I loved The Woman King
deeply there. The Woman King is like my 7th favorite movie of the year.
But yeah, another thing about Farrell is he's never been nominated for an Oscar, and I did a top 10 actors never been nominated for an Oscar on my Instagram a couple months ago, and he was my number 4. So it looks like he and Jamie Lee Curtis are going to get bumped off that list this year. And
good, thank God they are. They don't deserve to be on that list. And
one more thing is, I do think Brendan Gleeson has somewhat of a chance to win, but his main competition would be Ke Huy Quan in Everything Everywhere.
I think Ke Huy Quan has that one locked.
I think, like, even though I'm totally in favor of Ke Huy Quan winning over him, I don't know, like something about it, like first of all, Brendan Gleeson has been like more, I guess, longer in the game, and also it seems like the kind of performance they'd give it to. So I just think they're the two front runners right now, and we'll have a better idea when like the Globe and the SAGs are announced. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I think we also agreed that it's time that Martin got that directing nod. He's not gonna win this year. This year is either gonna be, it's most likely gonna be Steven Spielberg. If not, there's an outside chance that maybe Cameron's gonna get it. But like, yeah, maybe Cameron, maybe the Daniels. But I don't think Martin's getting anywhere near that award. But I'm so glad that most likely he'll get the nom. I think he'll get nominated. I thought it was getting nominated. I thought it was ridiculous that he wasn't nominated for directing for 3 Billboards. Even though directing is always like a weird category to be. Didn't get nominated for directing last year, but it was nominated 10 other times. It was so weird. Yeah, and I remember
nominated for being a director, like Sorkin kept missing that nomination. Like a lot of directors that are writers.
Oh yeah,
so I think his nomination
should have gone in.
Yeah, his nomination will be his award, basically. I think that he's like 5th.
That's actually a good point.
Yeah, and we're all just talking about how he might take home screenplay, so let's just root for that, I guess. But yeah, I guess that's it.
All right, do we wanna rank his movies?
Yes, let's rank his movies. Let's start with our most special guest, Julie.
Okay, my number 4 is Banshees of Inisherin, even though it's a 9 still.
Oh yeah, we didn't do ratings, so it is also an 8 for me.
Okay, I'd say 8.5. Okay, I'd say 8.5.
Yeah.
My number 3 is In Bruges.
Okay.
And then my number 2 is 3 Billboards out Ebbing, Missouri, and my number 1 7 Psychopaths.
Sure. My number 4 would be Seven Psychopaths. I enjoy all these movies, as we've mentioned. Number 3, In Bruges, 2, Banshees of Inisherin, and number 1, 3 Billboards.
Okay, so we all have different lists. That's so weird. I thought like with 4 movies we would have like similar lists. But number 4 for me, I agree with Julie's The Banshees of Inisherin. Again, I love all his work, but like something has to come last, and for now it is Banshees. Third, it is 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. For all the reasons that I said, again, it's still a fantastic movie. Second is Seven Psychopaths for me, and the first one is In Bruges.
Awesome.
In Bruges is so good. And I'm a fan of like the really small movies that like.
In Bruges is almost second. There's no good reason for me to like put Banshees over Bruges or Bruges over Banshees.
More of a ranking of like which movie I have like a 1% chance of wanting to see more, and like the last one is like 1% less and 1% less.
Exactly. One last thing I want to mention before we wrap up. I read this article where Martin McDonagh was being interviewed for one of the big newspapers, and he was addressing the fact that he took 5 years between Seven Psychopaths and between Seven Psychopaths and 3 Billboards, and then between 3 Billboards and Banshees. And he said as a joke, "I'm the laziest filmmaker of all time." And that just sums up like how irreverent his humor is, let alone he's willing to poke fun at himself that way. So I just thought I'd share that.
If you have to take a 7-year break every time, and every time we get a great movie like this, you do it until you die, my man.
Yeah, he said, like, I don't want to make 20 movies or 20 plays that disappear. I want to take my time and make something that people remember, which I really appreciate.
Yeah, I mean, I even just watched Six Shooter yesterday. Did you guys see it? It's like
I watched it just today, actually.
I haven't seen it.
It's available. It was really good too. I just feel like I'm into the writing first when I watch a movie. I'm into the acting second. The technicals are an addition to me. So I think this screenplay is just really good, and I look forward to writers a lot more than anything these days. So I'm into it. He's definitely up there, right? He's coming up. He's coming up the list, and I saw a lot of his movies this year. So he's new to me in a way.
Yeah, we were just talking about like this is the year that we both watched the most movies like ever. So.
Yeah, me too. Was this in your favorite movies of the year list?
It made my top 15. I think it was like my number 15. I still didn't post my official list. I'm like wrapping up all the end of the year things still. He's definitely up there, and this movie
is also my
too.
15th of the year.
I put it at
number
9.
15. That's my lucky number too, so it's a good number.
So no spoilers for Julie's top 10 of the year, but definitely check it out once it drops on her Instagram, and your other lists are so much fun to follow. So
They are.
Definitely give her a follow.
Love lists.
We love lists here too.
We just did our top 10 everything.
Yeah, we did
last
a
time.
top 10 worst of the year, top 10 best of the year, and top 10 most anticipated of 2023. That's all in our channel. Go check it out. And go check out Julie's Instagram. If you love lists, that's the place to go.
Yeah, I'm not exactly a critic. I wouldn't call myself that, even though I am in the critics circle. I do like 5 reviews a year, but other than that, I love lists. I love giving recommendations and just letting people know what I saw. If I don't like a movie, I actually don't finish it, and that's why you don't see a lot of my movies ranked really low, is because I just don't finish a movie. If I'm not enjoying it, I just don't waste my time. So that's why I don't call myself a critic, because of that reason. So, because otherwise I'd be paid to do it. It would be different, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. Wow, thank you so much, Julie. Where can people find you on the?
I'm on Instagram at Jusreel Reviews. That's JUSREEL Reviews, and you can just check me out on there. I post a lot of lists.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming. We had a blast with you. Sorry again for for recording 30 minutes for no reason. You were a good sport about it. Yeah, remember to follow us as well here at Film Fanatics Pod.
Guys, and it's been
Uh,
awesome. And
yeah.
see you next time.
See you. Thank you
See
so
ya.
much.
Always great talking movies.
You too. Thanks.
Gal, take us out.
All right, that was our director spotlight on Mr. Martin McDonagh. Check out his movies if you haven't already, including The Banshees of Inisherin, which is available on HBO Max and is getting some of the most awards buzz for any movie of the year. Alan, always great talking movies in the studio. And thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to follow us everywhere, including Instagram, YouTube, and Spotify. And stay tuned for many more movie
To
talk.
leave that like really helps us out, and to leave a comment as well. Which one is your favorite Martin McDonagh movie? Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Gal. I'm Gal. I'm Alan.
And I'm Alan. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Film Fanatics. From the silver screen to your earphones with Alan Azulay and Gal Balaban.